You're listening to Cards to the Moon, a podcast about trading cards from both a collector and investor perspective. We hope you'll stick around for the ride as we take a deep dive into the state of the hobby, share some hot takes, hopefully some useful advice, and fun stories along the way. Hey guys, welcome back to Cards to the Moon. This is episode 349. My name is Clark from 5cardguys.com, and you can also find me at 5cardguys, all one word, on Instagram, YouTube, and on Facebook. Co-hosting with me, as usual, is Hyung, who is at Cho Hyung. You can find him on Instagram and YouTube as well. All right, let's get right into it because I want to get our 2 cents in quickly about something everyone else in the hobby has already talked about. Yes, it's about PSA raising their prices again because of the massive influx of cards being graded. And yes, they said their turnaround times will increase as well. So, of course, the hobby community is up in arms because if this all sounds familiar, they made a similar announcement, if you remember, just in this past September of 2025. And if you look at the what prices they increased specifically, it looks like the TCG bulk got hit the hardest, going from $19 US per card to $25 US per card, which even Roy agreed. I met up with him on Tuesday for lunch with Will, and he says it makes sense because, business wise, TCG cards have seen the highest increase in terms of submissions, right? But still, it doesn't make it any easier to swallow. So I got a couple thoughts myself, but I want to hear from you, Hyung. Your first thoughts on this latest PSA news.
Hey, so I guess you could see it from a business perspective, which I always do. It makes sense, but I see the comments. I scroll around on Facebook and see what everybody else's, I guess, thoughts are on it. And to me, it's mind blowing to be honest. And to me also, not to defend PSA or anything, having longer turnarounds than anticipated will affect their business as well in a negative way. Yes. So volume isn't always the greatest thing for PSA because they have to be able to maintain that volume, right? So I think it's a supply demand thing, like you're saying. It's the demand is there, but they can't internally keep up. So what do they have to do? They have to compensate. They have to invest more in labor, in infrastructure, systems to be able to, sustain millions of cards, right? And that's, if you're a CEO, that's your number one focus. It's like, I don't mind, I like, for instance, I would want the turnarounds to be more timely. So it's like, what would we have to invest in based on the demand, right? And those are things that logically, to me, it's just so logical that when you see it that way, it doesn't matter what other people think. You're looking after the best interest of the business itself, right? And so there's that perspective. And then there's the hobby perspective of, here we go again. PSA is a money grab, like worthless. Yeah. The grades don't even make sense. Like, why are we sending our cards to PSA? And that's where I think they're wrong because it's like the market dictates that. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So it becomes a whole market ecosystem of who's buying these cards, for instance. Who's buying these PSA 10s? Are they valuable? Because if they weren't valuable, people wouldn't be buying them, right? And that will basically create habits of the opportunities that are there. If you pulled a card, would you not submit and grade it because you see what value it brings? You see what I'm saying? It's like you can't pick and choose when you complain because when you personally benefited, like pulling a card and sending it to PSA, you have to complain just as much then. You know what I mean? It's not so that's why I see it from a hobby perspective. That behavior happens a lot where it's like, well, and it's fine. Some people don't even participate in that. Let's just say they're a tag. They're like, send it to tag, right? But at the end of the day, they're going for a 10 in tag, and that 10 tag will be directly correlated to PSA 10 prices. So,
Right.
so you're still benefiting. So it kind of becomes, I guess, a cat chasing its own tail.
Yeah. Everything you're saying makes sense, Hyung, but I still don't like it. Like I'm sure we all can say we don't like it, but to your point, the reason why they're doing this is because, in a nutshell, despite these announcements in September and I think in February of last year, this is like the third or fourth time even that they increased prices within the last 12 months, which is crazy. But the fact that they're still doing it is because we're going to complain. And you know what we're going to do tomorrow? We're going to submit hundreds to PSA. Like that
Absolutely.
is the crux of the issue,
But
So
Clark, this is it. Does the math out?
what do you mean?
Like if you pulled a raw card, why would you submit it to PSA? Does the math
Right.
out?
Yeah, you get tremendous value still.
That's
And-
it.
and-
That's it.
But here's the thing. And this is I don't know, maybe up for debate. If the pricing increases for PSA, so that means you got to invest more in grading, right? You're spending more dollars to grade. Do you purposely at PSA 10 like add the value of the card if it gets a PSA 10? You know what I mean? Like if previously a card was $500 in a PSA 10, but now it costs more to grade, I'm going to try to sell it for $600-700. And then, you see this positive amplification. I don't know where it stops. I'm sure there's got to be a point where it breaks. But right now it seems like because the value of grading is higher, I'm also going to list my cards higher to compensate for that price.
100%. And that's the thing. It's like we could all have opinions, but market prices and comps, that's all that it is what it is, right? So for people, when they see those comps, it becomes their next step in the evolution of their card collecting, ecosystem that they're building. Cause like I said, I always said, one man's profit could be the next man's profit too, or it could be trash, right? So people are in that stage of, okay, I'm good with selling this at market price because I've done well. And another person could look at it as, wow, this is a great opportunity. So it becomes something that, you can't really change like that. That's what's happening every day. And I think my main point is like, you could really enjoy collecting if you use this to your advantage, because if you are a true collector, you know things that other people don't. And that's all I'm saying. You could make the moves. Whether PSA deserves this or not, no one really cares, to be honest. Like, because the market has spoken.
Yeah.
And it's our behaviors and habits, right? To me, it's like, and a business will always be around if they provide value. That's it.
Yeah, I get it. But I'm going to play devil's advocate a little bit. I'm going to play a representative for the hobby at large. Those that are just up in arms, right?
I like this.
I think one thing that PSA could do better is in their communication, right? The 3 or 4 times they increased it. Really, I know Ryan Hoag's gone on a couple podcasts and tried to explain it, but not very well. They're saying they're increasing the price because they need to hire more, they need to invest more. But if you do it 3 or 4 times in the last 12 months, that means you're not doing it enough or it's ineffective. We just don't know. And then if you don't know, we're going to create our own narrative saying, right, oh, PSA, this is a money grab, right? Then that kind of fills in the vacuum of absence of information. So I think they got to do a better job in clarifying what this money is going towards, Otherwise, guess what? It just seems like just a easy profit-making machine for PSA or an excuse for them to increase prices. We just don't know what their real intention or motivation is. It could very well be that they are investing in things to make turnaround times quicker. But guess what? In the last year, it's gone the complete opposite way still. And yet we're paying more and more to grade into PSA slabs.
Man, I don't disagree with anything you said, to be honest. That's to me, that's an internal issue of how they're communicating and how they're delivering. But I don't necessarily see that as the other side of the argument, because I don't think you can argue with necessarily as a business if the structure is the purpose is to make profit while growing the industry. Because if you're part of that growth, that it's not just about net profit, it's about growth as well. So you want to be profitable. Obviously, net profit is very different than top line revenue. So there's that, right? But the other, my whole point was, sorry, what was it? What were you referring to again?
Just in terms of the lack of communication and the fact that we're not seeing any results.
So yeah, going back to that, it's on PSA now to be able to execute, right? Like with any company. So I could get those frustrations, but what I'm saying is that can't conclude that necessarily PSA is doing this for a money grab, because you're not necessarily looking at that business lens we originally talked about. But like I said, you're not wrong either that PSA needs to be accountable for delivering these in an effective way, where if that's where the end consumer is feeling, where they feel jaded, it's their department's responsibility to, settle that and be able to ensure that trust. But like I said, if they're doing such a bad job at that, then it should directly affect human behavior not to support a company like that. Correct?
Right. Exactly. That's what I was going to add. The market is the market, but we are part of the market. So it makes sense if you're really upset about it. And this is an opportunity, I think. And I'm honestly going to look at this. Look at cards that are graded something other than PSA. Because when PSA 10 values start to skyrocket a bit more, maybe as a result of higher grading prices, BGS or CGC or SGC, cards in those slabs will probably stay stagnant, but it's not because the condition is far inferior than the PSA slabbed ones. It's just because the PSA, to get PSA graded cards just costs more. So there might be an opportunity for you to grab cards in other grades or submit to other graders. We always say this, but that's the issue, right? Not a lot of people are submitting to anyone else.
And that's the problem. And that's what I've learned. It's like, I used to submit, I would say, 70% PSA, maybe 20% BGS and 10% SGC, and all serve the purpose, right? So now I don't submit anything but other than PSA. Seriously, because for me, it's like everything you said is, I think, correct in terms of value. I think there's a lot of value in those set slabs, but from a short-term perspective, what I've learned, those slabs won't win in the short term if that's your play, right? Unless you have a massive bump in the actual card itself. But I agree. It's like, that's where the true value is long-term, where, if there's a BGS 9.5, Gem Mint Plus, and it's half the price of a PSA 10, I'm all in on the BGS 9.5. You know what I mean?
Too.
It's a no-brainer for people. And long-term, I guarantee you're going to win, right? Because that value is there. But short-term, if you're thinking of flipping that because you think the value's there, a year later, it might be the same thing. 60%, 50%, who knows? But don't expect massive jumps if that's the way kind of our system is. And that's what we said over the last 5-6 years. BGS has a lot of value. Back in 2021, 2022, it's still crap. Like, it's still, the value's still like not there, right? So
I know what you're saying too. And as you're talking, and even as I was just talking about going to other graders, it all might be a moot point because Collectors owns everything, and that's the wild card as well. We just don't know what they're going to do now that they own pretty much BGS and of course SGC. So I don't want to discuss it now in this episode, but the word monopoly comes into mind, and then that's another whole debate in itself. So I don't know if there's going to be another viable competitor anytime soon. I was in a separate chat with Will and Roy. I was saying Fanatics, or maybe with you guys too, you and John, Fanatics should just buy out Tag. That'll be interesting for me, and make it a viable contender immediately.
I mean, something has to happen. Like I said, we don't know what's going to evolve through this, right? Because of PSA, hey, maybe the next Pepsi, explodes, right? And that's why it's like you look at Coke and Pepsi, it's the same thing. It's like, or whoever was first, a birth of a monster is gonna bring out a second tier because someone wants to be the best, right? So I like healthy competition, and like I said, it could all seem like it's bad, but we don't know what the future of the hobby holds. And it's a perfect example. These last 5 years have been wild. There's two ways you could have. There was people that were bitter that there was this huge crash. We expected it, but we also, seen opportunities where it was, and we enjoy the collecting aspect of the whole hobby, and it helps, speaking about it every week, it helps you stay engaged in the hobby and keeps you accountable. But that's the whole point, is like, we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. We could say that prices are going to go up. It could totally go the opposite way because we look at the uncertainty of the economy. But we've also seen during COVID, when everybody thought, the markets were going to crash, that's when the sports card had the biggest uptick, right? So, like I said, we can't be so emotionally attached to, the uncertainties of where the hobby's going or who's going to be at play, or I always love to see it. It's like, I'm done with this hobby. But then they're messaging on the board, announcing their removal from the hobby. It's like, peace, no one, I don't think anybody cares. People are enjoying it for what it is. But that's my whole point. It's like, they still stick around because it's not necessarily that they hate the hobby. It's like, these little things, don't let it ruin your experience, because the hobby is great. The hobby is living. 5-10 years ago, or I would say pre-COVID, you go to a show, card show, honestly, it was the most boring thing. It wasn't fun. It was empty, and it was just same people you see. And like I said, you're just trying to, and it sucks that you can't get access now. It's harder, or the cards that used to be easy now isn't easy. Boo-hoo. You know what I mean? Come on. Let's move forward.
You have to
enjoy.
You have to adjust like everyone else. Yes, I agree.
And I love it, Clark, too, because it allows you to now keep the rare cards that you loved anyways. It's that much more valuable. So, done with my
absolutely. You know whose rant I want to hear? Will. So I'll bring this up because I feel like he puts a lot of emotion into grading, as we know. So I'm looking forward to hearing his side. But and I'll something funny he mentioned in our lunch discussion was that he's like, oh, it's funny how in this new tiers that PSA is offering that they put value in front of every tier. Right? To make it, to disguise what they're actually doing. And he thinks it's like insult to injury. But I thought that was kind of funny. Value, bulk, value, everything. It's like, okay, but the prices are double. Anyway, I know a lot of people have a lot more to say about it, but I want to, at least for us, to get our 2 cents in. All right, let's move on to something we're more excited about in hobby headlines. Okay, I'm talking, of course, about the annual release of Topps Series 1, which marks, for me anyway, the unofficial start of the MLB season. And as we do each year, I like when we go through the product and see what we like about it and what we don't like, or, think it's maybe too gimmicky. All right, so let's start first with the design of the card. Every year, design changes a bit. For you, thumbs up or thumbs down?
Thumbs up. I don't mind it at all. I like personally bordered cards. The design itself, I thought, it's similar to actually, it has last year's touch, but it's like an updated version. So for me, I personally like it. I don't mind it. I think Topps Chrome is going to look phenomenal. But yeah, I wish personally that, they would implement more of the old school parallels to be kind of like the OGs. So, Independence Day has been, established as a well-parallel black, camo, the Father's Day, Mother's Day. I know it's boring for some, but I really hope that they could implement, for instance, like autos, like an auto version instead of a new orange out of 25. You know what I mean? Because it's like we get the classic colors in Topps Chrome. I hope that they would just leave Topps Chrome and because then everybody would always want to go Topps Chrome. That's the premium product. And I get it. It is the premium product version of Topps. So it's like the paper. But I would hope that because it's like the flagship release of that year, they would have true rookie autos that people wouldn't want in Topps Chrome. They could get it in Topps Chrome, but they would also want the Topps version.
Yeah. No, I get it. Yeah. And for me, the design is fine. Like, I'm not I don't usually have a strong opinion on design year after year. Sometimes I like it, and sometimes when I don't like it, it kind of grows on me by the time Topps Chrome comes out. You know what I mean? You're like, oh, okay, that's not bad. So yeah, I think it's fine. Not much more to say personally.
I think it like design always grows. I think over time you kind of say, okay, that sucked. For instance, like 2018, we all agree that probably was one of the best like design years. You take 2017, probably one of the worst design years in my opinion, especially the parallels. And so for me, it's like, I think over time you kind of see it. So I'm with you in terms of, I stay really neutral with design until it's more established. It's like, you know what? I really like that design. You know, I thought 2020 was pretty weak, but like 2019 was good. 2018 was good. 2017 sucked, but that's over time. You know, that kind of happens and you're like, okay. And I guess it all depends on the rookie class too and who was in it. If nobody was in it, nobody really remembers that design, right? But seeing that's like true. Aaron Judge, like I would have picked way better images for that Topps Chrome Aaron Judge image. Like that. That's
another issue altogether. The photography they choose for some of these cards.
It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. It's like who's in charge of this? Yeah. Crazy.
Yeah, exactly. They have so many photos of each player.
Perfect.
There's got to be one really good one.
The Bobby Witt, like rookie auto. Are you kidding me? Like Julio Rodriguez 2022 rookie auto. Are you kidding me? Those are the best images you could find. Like, come on. Ridiculous.
Oh, man. You just reminded me of your Julio rant from the last episode. I guess it's continuing into this one.
Hey, you should put a poll out on that. Does it matter if the rookie is not wearing his jersey?
Oh, yes. I'm going to do that today. Yeah, you reminded me.
I think it matters. I didn't buy the Acuna Sapphire rookie auto because of that reason.
Wow. It matters that much.
That was always the
reason.
Okay. And I think that's an Acuna fan. Like if you're an Acuna collector, like OG, I think that is something that actually goes through your mind.
Sure. Not me, but we'll put a poll, see how many people are with you on that. All right. Now I want to talk about Jonah Tong. You know, there's something you knew and then shared with me before the rest of the world found out when Topps put out their social media post about Jonah Tong's 1-of-1 card. You want to share that story with our pod listeners here?
Yeah, crazy. We were all at the Baseball Canada. Every year they have a national teams banquet. So national teams would include World Baseball Classic, the senior national team, junior national team, women's national team. So it's this big, event where, you know, alumni come, MLB players and so forth. And yeah, there was a bunch. Like, I mean, you're there. There's Otto. Cool. There was Russ Martin. There was Jonah Tong, Denzel Clark. Like the list goes on. I think Liam Hicks. A lot of MLB players getting awards. But it was funny. We were seated in the table next to us. They were the younger guys like Jonah, Denzel, and Jonah calls me over, and he's like, "I got to show you something." So I'm like, you know, what's he up to? And it happened to do with cards. I wasn't expecting it, but I forgot he's a card collector. And he showed me that the kanji auto. I don't know if it's kanji auto. Would it be kanji?
It's Mandarin,
right?
Autograph.
Yeah. So people call it kanji, but it's his Mandarin auto. And it was such a cool story because when we seen it last week in the Topps release, you know, there was a whole story behind it, but he showed me that card and I thought it was the coolest thing. Because, you're sitting right across. I wanted to call you over to kind of show you it, but then the event started. But yeah, he ended up showing that to me, and I loved it. I thought it was so cool. And then that story kind of blew up. So pretty cool story to kind of see that before the world seen it.
Yeah, I wonder who's gonna pull it, but I've seen what the card looks like. Now everyone's seen what the card looks like. The 1/1 Mandarin auto card. It looks awesome.
And I'll tell another story that we're talking about Jonah. It's crazy because he's a collector, and there's a guy who has a Superfractor auto, his Bowman first, and we need to make a deal here. Like, we need to get that thing somehow.
Yeah, let's make it happen.
I took the screenshot. I think I have it, but I think whoever somebody knows the guy with the Jonah Tong auto that's listening. Let's have him reach out and work out a deal somehow.
Okay, it's already surfaced. The Superfractor auto.
No, his first Bowman. His first Bowman.
Oh, first Bowman. Okay.
Yeah. His first Bowman auto, which I think Jonah is interested too. So.
And we need Jonah on this podcast, because he's a collector. We'll try to make that happen as well. All right. I thought that was a really cool story. Next big announcement for the 2026 Topps Series 1 set was that there will be a redemption card in one of the packs, and it is a 1952 Topps Mickey Mantle card that you could redeem it for. Cool or gimmicky for you? No,
definitely not gimmicky. I do more of these. I'm telling you, especially 100%. In Series 1. I don't care necessarily actually about Topps Chrome. Maybe this is their way of making the Topps Paper Series more hype. Add more value where they have value. Like I said, how cool would it be? Because if you're Fanatics and you had access to, let's just say, a Bobby Witt Jr. jersey autograph, and it's a redemption for a Fanatics jersey. You know what I mean? A signed Fanatics jersey where it has nothing to do with the card, the set itself, right? Topps Chrome, you keep it Topps Chrome like itself, where it's none of that, I guess, quote unquote gimmicky, but it gives more incentive of us as collectors to rip, because the common theme is if you just use that current system of the way they're doing it, you're chasing non-existent parallels that really don't matter. And there's millions of base cards that, collectors are just going through, and it's no value. So if you start implementing value where the experience gets, I guess, better for collectors, because you see it all the time. And I'm not the one to say, it's a gamble to rip. We all know that. But we have to make the experience better as it grows, because you can't just keep printing more without doing something to justify it. You're going to print more as the demand increase. That's why people are like, junk wax era 2.0.
Yeah. They're
overprinting again. It's like, honestly, they have to print based on the demand. So whether you see it as overprinting, it's basically based on the demand. But where the important part is the user experience. What will they think if you're overprinting? And two, how can you compensate what you're not doing right now? And yes, you could create parallels because it doesn't cost the company any more money to create parallels. But this is where utility comes into play. This is where other things, whether it's a trip to the All-Star game, that would be perfect. It would be like, hey, a game within a game. They used to do this a lot with the home run challenge. They took it away. It's like, those are things I think that Fanatics have to look into to make it better. I know I'm going on another rant again, but Series 1 or paper products might be the perfect product to do this in.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree with you wholeheartedly. I love that they're keeping the price $99 US for a hobby box. Keep it low. And they could do that because they could print a lot more, like you're saying, due to demand. And really, that's a bullish sign for the hobby. That means the hobby is still growing. They wouldn't print this many, if the hobby was still the same size as it was 5, 6, 7 years ago, right?
And you can't compare this day and age to 1990s. Like it doesn't make any comparison, because you're taking out the number one component of card collecting, which is the internet. Done. End of story. It's not the same, because we have ways to sell cards that we couldn't instantly.
That's true. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you can't compare the two, right? Because the whole existence of our system has totally changed in card collecting, right? And that's why I see the future bullish, because it's going to be the same thing, like how it was 20 years, in the future. We're going to look back and say, man, remember when, NFTs were a thing, or whatever it is, like whatever we say, right?
Yeah. I love how the discussion went into deeper discussion on the future of the hobby, from the fact that we're talking about the 1952 Topps Mickey Mantle card being inserted. Because you know why? Because this is obviously a cool thing to try to get the 1952 Topps. It's a brilliant idea. I don't know anyone that would disagree.
Yeah, right, I don't think anybody would complain if they pull that card. That's insane.
We might get more traction if we say, this is a horrible idea. Why would you do this? No, that's a great idea. Kudos to Topps and Fanatics for thinking about this, and definitely cool. You kind of mentioned it in your mini rant there, but providing more experiences. So they actually, in one of the packs, you can win 2 tickets to the next World Series. Do you like that?
Amazing. Now we're talking. See, yeah. This is. I
feel like we mentioned this on our pod. I feel like we mentioned this on our past pod, and I think we should get some of the credit. That's all I'm saying.
For sure, of course, but my whole point is, this is what they need to do. It's not, it's inevitable. Anybody that is in that position, they could see the value of that, and it would cost them very minimal, but it would mean the world to collectors, right? So it's those little things that help, me want to rip more, because it's kind of like skunk protection, right? Like if there's nothing else to pull other than the parallels, you're kind of like, damn, that was rough. And you hear it all the time. It's always rough, right? So it's like, how do we make this collecting experience better? It's you start, implementing things that create value outside the hobby, and they already have it. It's not going to cost them a ton of money. They have access to it. And then this is where we always talk about it on our show. There's going to be value into utility, but being able to keep the value where potentially it's not redeemed. Maybe, that still stays valuable on the market, because the utility is still valid, or vice versa. Somebody used the utility and it's just the card itself, whatever it may be, right? There's future possibilities with this that I like. I think it's the future of collecting. I like it. I want the experience as a collector. I think it's phenomenal.
Yeah. As you were talking, I'm thinking one of the main complaints I know will be coming, or already has come, is that, it's going to just go to a breaker, because, they do the volume, and, some people already hate breakers to begin with. I don't mind breakers. I see that they're an essential part of today's hobby. But I wonder, in future releases, I don't know how they would do this. I'm just thinking out loud. Some of these kind of giveaways, or, these hits that you can hit, whether it's tickets to World Series, or whether it's the kanji or Mandarin Auto, like some cool, unique cards that we know are in Topps Series 1. I wonder if you could somehow limit it to hobby shops. Do you know what I mean? So it doesn't go to breakers. And I know that's going to be hard to police, because breakers can get whatever product, but you just allocate just a small portion to legit, and maybe they'll be able to do this because they're strengthening their relationship with hobby shops. They're, I think we talked about in the past, the ones that don't do much, don't improve their stores. Topps Fanatics are breaking their relationship with those stores. So as you kind of have a deeper, close relationship with legit hobby stores, you give them a certain small allocation only, and then anyone can go into their local retail store hoping to get one of these big hits. Not all the hits, you got to say some for the breakers, but just an idea out there.
I think I agree that you need allocation for hobby shops, and it's sad to see our local hobby shop. Oh, we don't get that product. It's like, what? It's like that's right. That's insane. But that was always kind of like the distribution model in the last 20 years. But for me, I've always yelled, from an e-commerce perspective, really the middleman becomes obsolete eventually in a system where we're communicating directly online. So retailers and distributors have to understand you have to create value within that infrastructure. Otherwise, you can't cater to that side of things for the next, let's just say 5 years. If there's no value for you to go into a hobby shop, I still think that there's value to go into a hobby shop. If I go into a hobby shop, there's a lot of value, but it's the hobby shop's job to continually keep that value and kind of like not rely on necessarily allocation. But that's the sad part, is they need the allocation. So it becomes, okay, what's the future of hobby shops? Is it a distribution for that? We don't know. Right? Mm-hmm. Because what's happening is Topps is selling direct. They could reach more people than hobby shops. And the last thing you want to do is alter the allocation in any way. So if they're allocating hot boxes to breakers, that needs to stop. Period. Mm. Like, you have to have it totally random. And I think they need to break down the allocation where, hobby shops do have allocations and breakers have allocation too. And it's fair on both sides, because breakers, some people break. So who's to say that they're wrong? They're providing a valuable service to other people. And, our buddy Jared, he breaks, and sometimes he prefers that over ripping, because he does well in breaks, right? So who's to say that that's so bad?
Right.
You see what I'm
everyone
saying?
collects. So everyone collects in their own way.
Right. So it's like, you can't now cater to a hobby shop that, isn't pushing volume, right? Or they can't justify necessary allocation. So that's the tricky side. It's like, how do you coexist? And to me, it's like, well, if you're a hobby shop, you're going to have to become a breaker then. You're going to have to do things differently that you're not used to. And if you don't want to do that, then that's going to hurt you. Like, that's because it's what the market demands, right? So
you gotta evolve the business, right, to survive sometimes. And that's a good point, because I was thinking while you were talking, well, some hobby shops already are also breakers. So how do you that line is blurred already. So anyway, I was just thinking out loud. I was thinking more like, for local hobby shops to provide a unique experience, maybe you do that. But
Clark, let me ask you: if you had a hobby shop, would it not benefit you if you had breaking and inventory? Because if you're a breaker, you have to rely on selling your positioning. If you're a hobby shop, you have so much more outs for that product, right? And ability to do things differently. So for me, it's like I said, it's excuses. It's not, evolutionizing the way the hobby is running. It's not up to us to determine that. That's my whole point. It's like, we can have opinions on it, and that's fair. I'm not advocating for, I get it from a hobby shop's perspective. I could see your pain, but it's not going to go away if you don't do things differently. And that's just reality, not like, hobby sucks shop. I'm all for hobby shops. I'm all for the experience. There's so much value of me going into a hobby shop rather purchasing it online, right? Yeah. And then vice versa. There's some value and convenience when, hey, hobby shops aren't accessible. How convenient is it to go online and you could break when you want? And then last point, I participated in the Arena Club for the first time. That was a total new experience that I told myself I would never kind of participate in, and I did. Yeah. And now it's like, hey, wait a minute. If I'm ripping, I might consider that to be kind of like a hedge between box ripping, for instance. Right? Yeah. So it's, like I said, your mind changes as you experience the hobby, and that's what's happening to me.
And there's more options as the hobby grows, which is what I love about the hobby too, right? So, I get your point. And, you could say same thing about card shows. Like, why bother going to card shows when you could just get everything off on eBay? It's a different experience. I still love going to card shows. I could find 95% of those cards at card shows on eBay. Sure. Like, that's the reality. And I could probably get better deals on eBay just by putting them on watch lists. But why do we go to card shows? It's the experience. So hobby shops have to think in the same way. You got to create an experience. You got to almost be a destination place, and you got to do your homework. And I think that goes to what you were just saying. right? So I agree with you 100% there. All right, one more thing about the Topps Series 1, and I don't know if you think this adds value, but it definitely does for some people, because I'm going to tell you, last year we saw Larry David, the creator of Curb Your Enthusiasm and co-creator of Seinfeld, get his own autographed baseball card, which are going for thousands actually, and especially if they're in the more rare parallels, right? So I wanted it personally. That's why I see value in it. A lot of Larry David fans out there. Kind of merges the love for his, comedy and my love for baseball cards together. So it was a good fit, except it cost thousands of dollars. So I don't know if I want to spend that much. But this year, the other co-creator and star of Seinfeld, Jerry Seinfeld himself, he gets an autograph card distributed in this year's set. Do you like these non-celeb cards in Topps baseball products?
I do like them, but not in the expense.
You won't collect them.
No, not that I won't collect them. Yeah, I probably wouldn't collect them. But I'm just saying Jerry Seinfeld should not take precedence over the rookie auto that I'm hoping to grab. So if they're going to add stuff that's not baseball related, add it as a bonus hit. So it's like, it's not replacing kind of like that rookie auto. If that, you know what I mean? And make it like rare. But I would be disappointed if I'm ripping baseball and I get someone that really doesn't have to do with baseball, like if I'm chasing a rookie auto. But if I got the rookie auto and then got that Jerry Seinfeld auto on top of that, that would be a bonus. I would be thrilled. I just don't like it that if it's replacing the hit, it should be an addition.
So you don't like Allen and Ginter, because that's kind of what it is. You get non-sports autos for.
No, I like it, but that's Allen and Ginter. Like that's what the set's known for. So I'm okay with that.
Okay.
Right.
That's the expectation for that set.
That's expectation. But you're ripping Topps Series 1 flagship, 2026, like Owen Casey rookie auto. That's what you want, and then you pull.
Jerry Seinfeld, hey, you got thousands of dollars, sell it, and then get your own Casey.
True.
It's an extra step.
Like I said, it should be addition. Not that. That's my only thing.
Sure, I have no problem with that.
I'm for it, though. I'm for it. Just don't replace the baseball spot.
Fair enough. All right. Actually, I got one last thing, and you don't have to comment on this, because my favorite subset is back. It's home field advantage. But you know what? I'm not liking the design this year.
Really?
It's just too... I don't know what it is. I can't put my finger on it. It's. I think the previous year home field advantage cards look way better. Maybe it's too artistic. Maybe it's too, cheap Panini.
You don't
downtown
like the font.
lookalike.
No, you don't like the font. I think
the font for sure is
that is pretty.
I don't know.
No, but I do like. I think the graphic looks amazing. I just don't like the font. That's for me.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's the composition too. It's just not pleasing to my eye. But I just wanted to say that, I probably won't be collecting this year's home field advantage.
Really? Is that your house?
I think I'm done. I started collecting more Topps Chrome anyways, because I like the shine. But I'm not liking this year's home field advantage.
That's interesting. I will say that though, that I think, inserts are a thing. I think inserts, insert collecting, especially with Ohtani, I think there's a lot more demand for inserts now. So I just hope that, they do. And this is what I'm seeing. I'm seeing better insert collecting in general from Fanatics, which I'm happy about. I'm hoping that they can make the inserts look really good and collectible. I'm a big insert guy now. If you look at, MJ, for instance, what are MJ collectors? What do they like? And if you see, they collect inserts of MJs, they collect regular flagship. I think it's going to be the same thing with Ohtani. When we look back, it's the cool inserts that are like, wow, like I like this more than his rookie card because I'm just an Ohtani fan. I think Ohtani's getting to that level. So just throwing it out there, I think Ohtani inserts are underrated right now, and I think it's going to be a thing in the future.
I love that call. Yep. And I'm going to look at some inserts after this pod. All right. Let's move on to quiz show. Okay, I got 4 questions for you for this quiz show. Let's see how you do. You need to get back on the winning track. I feel like the last 2 episodes, you've been
I apologize.
Had bad luck, but no need to apologize. All right, first question. This one, actually, quiz shows are usually harder than over-under, so maybe this is not the episode where you turn things around. But we talked about the 1950... Try your best. We talked about the 1952 Topps Mickey Mantle, his number 311 card. I don't know if you saw this, but it was sent to PSA 181 times last year in 2025. Of those 181, how many were deemed inauthentic?
Wow, what a question.
What percentage do you think? You don't have to even guess the exact amount. Like, was it 20% was inauthentic? 50, 75, what do you think? It's obviously just a guess if you haven't read it, but.
Yeah. No, I haven't read it, but I'm going to say, it's relatively 181. I would say out of 181, 15 of them.
15?
No, 20 of them. 20 of them. Okay. So I'm going to say that's 10%.
About 10%? Way off. 112 came back inauthentic, which is about 62%.
Wow, that is
1952
crazy.
Topps Mickey Mantle. Yeah, that's so surprising.
That is crazy. I would have thought that, there was a lot of Mickey Mantles that were ungraded, that were kept, but that tells me they didn't even know that they were counterfeit. I don't think people are trying to counterfeit. I think there's so many people that don't know they have a counterfeit card, and they've held it for 30 years. That is crazy. Right.
So, I'm glad PSA released this, because if you go to a card show, you have to be very careful for any Mickey Mantle 1952 Topps in raw, unslapped. You know what I mean? Because
Clark, I will even go as far as this, and maybe I get shot for this.
What?
But I would be very hesitant to have any Mickey Mantle in an old PSA slab.
Yeah.
You don't know what the heck happened. Like, you don't know who was involved in what. Like, that's scary. That's scary stuff, because would it pass authentication nowadays? What if it's already, graded PSA 9 in an old slab, and what would you do if you found out that was, like, you cracked it and resubmitted and they said it inauthentic?
Oh, heartbreaker. Yeah.
That's crazy.
So it's almost like, now it's almost like you got to buy those newer slabs, but I bet you that they're going to start going at a premium now, right? So,
that's why people say I'd rather have the newer slab. It's like, why do you matter? That's the reason why I don't buy old slabs. To be honest, because I know I've done my due diligence. Like I said, bad people are always going to be bad people. That's why you never kind of have to single out that. There's stories that, like, are pretty bad out there that in this day and age it would blow up. The hobby always had these problems, so it's nothing new, is what I'm saying. These fakes and stuff, and you saying that high percentage is probably exactly what I'm talking about. Most of those fakes were from the past, the shady business, right? So it's like, I think that it all kind of wraps it up like that.
Yeah, it makes sense now for sure. That's crazy. Okay, this is also kind of crazy. Anthony Davis, Trae Young, they're recently traded to the Washington Wizards. I know I asked what AD's highest card sale was on this pod before. It was over $1 million. One of those rare cards that you never expect to sell over $1 million, but one of AD's cards did. But how about Trae Young? What was his highest card sale, over or under $500,000?
Wow, and that's crazy. If I think it might be somewhere near there. I don't know if it's over or under, but it had to have been like 2020, 2021. I'm guessing. Definitely
2021.
Not now.
It was 2021, right? You're right.
Yeah. So wow, it has to be a National Treasures.
No, it was a Black Finite Prism 1 of 1.
Okay, so is this black? So 500K, was it that high? I'm going to say it wasn't that high, though. I would say between like 250 and 500.
You got it. BGS 9 slab, so that would have gave it away, but 444,000.
Wow.
In 2021. I wouldn't want to be that guy who's holding that card right now, but
yikes. Hey, that's a learning lesson, guys. A learning lesson. I'm telling you. Trey was still averaging 30 points a game that time. But look at card prices, right? So it's like direct stats doesn't correlate. Like, I'm just saying, and they follow the same market trends year in, year out. So at some point, Trey might be a buying period, right? So
it could be now, actually. Yeah, we talked about it before.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to stay with the year 2021, and we talked about PSA earlier. In 2021, PSA was grading approximately 15,000 cards per day globally. All right, in 2021, they're grading 15,000. Today, PSA grades approximately how many cards globally?
2020, so it's 5 years. I'm going to say they 10x the market. 150,000 cards.
Ooh, that's not a bad guess considering all the PSA news, but the answer is 90,000 cards per day globally. So it's trending that way.
It's trending that way. So I would say 2027.
Yeah, exactly.
It's looking like that.
You're just a year early. early.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, last question. According to Market Movers, which is Sports Card Investors tool, who had the most card sales in the last 180 days? So the last half year.
Had the most amount of card sales?
Yeah.
Had to be Ohtani.
No, didn't even crack the top 5.
Really? Is it TCG?
Nope.
Or no TCG?
This is just sports. This is just sports. Yeah.
It didn't even crack. The number one card sold?
No, sorry. The most card sales in volume. Doesn't matter about the price, but card sales, the number of cards in volume.
Sorry,
How many transacted?
So it's not the player, or it is the player?
It is the player. It is the player, yeah. Which player's cards sold the most number of times? Whether
Wemby?
It's base, whether it's... Wemby is number 4 with 92,000 card sales.
How is Ohtani not on that list? Jeez. Who am I missing?
I think the last 180 days is the key part of the question.
100. That would take us August-ish?
Who's built the hype over that period of time? You know what I mean?
Is there Cooper Flag on that?
He's number 3, 96,400.
So Drake May?
Drake May's number 1. You got it. 159,000 cards.
So it'd be all that basketball, football, I guess, the 180 days.
Yeah, number 2 and number 5. Number 5, I don't think you'll get. It's Caleb Williams from the Chicago Bears, 67,000. And number 2, well, he's the only guy that's all-time. Michael Jordan, 150,000
Always.
card sales.
The GOAT. Hey,
the
just
GOAT is always there.
Another data to extrapolate.
Yeah.
You got someone like MJ, and it's still selling daily. It's crazy. That's Ohtani market. I'm telling you, future Ohtani market.
He'll get there. I agree. Yeah. This is a chance to pick up a good Ohtani because it just seems like there's no turning back for Ohtani cards right now. Okay, let's end off our episode with our regular weekly segment we call Pick One. All right, Hyung, you got one this week, or
I did. You know what? I almost forgot again, and I picked this. Really quick because I'm kind of mad at myself because I let this one go. I talked about Ohtani inserts, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm gonna use that as the card. So in 2019, Topps Finest had an insert that I love is Blue Chips. I believe Blue Chips insert was back in the 90s, I want to say. There was a similar insert like that in Topps Finest. So I love this Ohtani. I think it's freaking sick. And I think it's such an underrated card, just saying. It's still pennies on the dollars or somewhere near there, $8 to $15 in terms of comps.
Never seen this insert before. That's
such a beautiful second year insert, right?
Yeah.
It's chrome, super hard to gem, but they had a recent red out of 5 sell for $17.20. And I wanted this card because I think the color match, it's a red, it's a second year chrome insert, right? Yeah. And eye appeal, like it doesn't get any better than this.
Yeah.
Right?
Nice swinging photo. Yeah.
So we talk about inserts and future of Ohtani. Would you rather pay $1,700 for a numbered insert, second year? Mm-hmm. I'm going to bring up a Topps Chrome recently sold, a Topps Chrome number 150 of Ohtani, 2018 Topps Chrome, pink refractor, PSA 10. Okay, the pink refractor sold for $21.50.
Oh, this is a good one.
Like, because it's similar price, right? It's like you're paying $2,000. You decide to drop $2,000. Let's just say that's your budget, and you're like, man, Ohtani's price is skyrocketing, but the rookie cards, I don't know if the rookie cards a play. And what I'm saying is, would you go the insert route? Like, that's like, inserts were known to be nothing, right? Like,
yeah,
that's
I get
crazy.
you. You know what you were saying earlier about Ohtani following that MJ card projection, where he just becomes this GOAT, and his inserts start to be the cards that you chase because everything else, like his, the equivalent of the 86 Fleer or 84 Star, is just out of reach for most collectors. So now you're going for the nice inserts, which are going for thousands of dollars too right now. I could see that path forward for Ohtani. But that being said, I just think that rookie card, I don't like pink, but even still, I just looked at the pop count, PSA 10, under 1,000 still. It is his rookie card, and it's going to be liquid for a long time. For those reasons, I'm going to go for the pink refractor 2018 rookie, but I could see a real play for the blue chips red out of 5. That's crazy to me as well. So you can't go wrong, I don't think, with any of those choices, but I'm going to go with the more liquid, with the more safe play, I guess. So that's my answer.
Yeah, no, for me, I'm going the red. I'm so mad at this. Like, I
know, you should have gotten that. That's crazy.
You know what? It totally slipped my mind, but
Feb 8, 4 days ago.
I think it's such a great looking card. I'm big on Ohtani inserts, and I think it has to do with like PC too, because I know you guys were all a sell on even the no name Ohtani, and I disagree. I think it's just for me, if I had that blue chips red out of 5, and I keep on tackling a portfolio of super rare Ohtani inserts, and I have no desire to sell these. And to me, that's the way I see it. And you're right. The pink Ohtani might be more liquid, and it's more easier to nail down a comp where you know what the value is. Where this BGS red, you don't know what the value is, and it's all subjective to basically the demand. Some people might be like, "This is the worst card. Like, it's not a rookie." Right? So you don't have that market. And I could see that side, but there's no way I would pass up a number to 5 second year Chrome insert for cheaper, even cheaper than $400 cheaper. I'm in on the blue chips red. I'm in on the blue chips whole brand. I think that an underrated card.
Yeah, no, I see that point for sure. And all you need is one buyer that's willing to pay whatever for such a rare card. So yeah, that's a good choice too. All right, I'll finish off with mine. I put an Instagram reel, or I think it's a YouTube Shorts actually, on my page recently about someone casually pulling a 2009 Bowman Chrome draft rookie auto of Mike Trout gold, number to 50. And then it was funny, the guy was saying while he's breaking open the packs, he's like, oh, that's cool. I don't know if this dude's any good. This is back in 2009, right? So you can excuse, obviously, not knowing Mike Trout's ability, but it was kind of funny. I put that up, and it's gaining traction on YouTube now. But so that made me think, would you rather have that card in a BGS 9.510, Mike Trout, his gold refractor, sold for just under $30,000 a few months ago? Okay, that's what it's going for now. Or Mookie Betts, his first Bowman Chrome gold refractor auto number to 50 in a PSA 1010 slab. 30,000 as well.
30,000.
Same.
Yikes.
If you're going to spend $30,000, would you have the Mookie Betts first Bowman Chrome gold? They're both gold, but Mookie is slabbed in a PSA 1010 and the Mike Trout's in a BGS 9.510 auto.
This is really good. This is really good for 2 reasons. Or maybe the main reason is psychologically,
Mm-hmm.
that's a record sale for Mookie Betts. Okay, so you'd probably be paying an all-time high. Psychologically, this would be kind of like an all-time low, at least in a period of Mike Trout, where it's like, man, orange or the red sold for or was worth, the superfractor was worth X amount, so the gold already had a very higher value than 30K. I'll tell you that at one point. So psychologically, it's tough because you're either buying the dip or buying the peak of an underrated card.
Right.
Psychologically.
Yes.
But then you compare the two and you're like, okay, Mookie Betts have won World Series.
Mm-hmm.
He's won one MVP.
At least, yeah.
Or how many MVPs? Sorry. I want to make sure because...
Has one MVP in his career.
Yeah,
yep.
So one MVP, definitely, Hall of Fame career. He still has time. And then Mike Trout is like, kind of like, okay, is he going to get back to where he is? Where is Mike Trout? From a WAR standpoint, Mookie is at 75, and he probably has a good 3 to 4 years left in his career. So you like Mookie Betts' trajectory right now, and that's the only... 5 years ago, I would have been like, just for sure, I'd rather have the Trout. But I don't know. Now, Trout's getting older. It's like, is he going to bounce back? Is that the gamble? Is the play Mookie Betts? I might go with the Mookie Betts play. I think long term, which is so gut punching because it's like, well, is it worth it? After it's all said and done, though, I think Mookie will have just as good of a career as Mike Trout now because he has World Series and MVPs. So I'm going to go Mookie Betts, as crazy as that sounds. That's crazy. I want to retract that. I want to retract that, but I'm going to stick with the 10-10 because for me, I think the value is there.
Yeah, that's, the grading probably plays a bigger factor in this case because I love both players, but I don't know. This is a personal bias of mine. I just can't quit Mike Trout. I just can't do it. I'm still on the Mike Trout.
I don't
disagree. Ride or die with Mike Trout, and I'm always waiting for that bounce back year, but he is getting older, mid-30s now.
But the crazy thing, Mookie Betts, he won a Gold Glove last year at shortstop. That's crazy.
He's an athlete. He's a pure athlete, right?
I mean, you hope to see his offensive production be on par to where it used to be, but right. I think
I was going to say
he's 75 WAR. Trout's at 87. Like that wasn't even a comparison. Like 3 years ago, Mookie was like way not even comparing. He was on the trajectory, but Mookie's still on that trajectory. So it's like who's going to get to 100 WAR faster, Trout or Mookie? That's the question.
That's a good question. Yeah.
And just to throw it out there, sorry to engage us. 4.9 WAR last year for Mookie. Mm-hmm. And let's see, Trout. So Trout was at a 1.5 WAR last year. And then Trout's last few years have been, so last 3 years for Trout, 2.9, 1.1, 1.5. Of course, injuries. Yeah. But that plays a big factor. So that was Trout's last 3 years. Mookie's last 3 years, 8.6, 4.8, 4.9. So to me, it's like, wow, like Mookie's 2 years younger.
I get it, but I'm going to play this card.
I get it.
And we've been saying it since we started this pod. No hobby love for Mookie Betts. Not as much as he deserves to. You know what I mean? He deserves a lot more, and he still doesn't get what he deserves. Whereas Mike Trout, you could argue that injuries and he's fallen off, but people still love collecting Mike Trout cards more than Mookie.
Yeah,
I would say that.
I agree. And that's when it's like, when is that time when that flips? That's when I would be speculating. Because if you look at careers, both careers are just as good. So it's like at face value, what do you think that PSA 10 is worth? And that's why I chose it, is because I think Mookie gets the upper hand on that PSA 10. And this is the crazy thing. You would overpay at an all-time high for Mookie Betts, and you would be paying all-time low almost. Not all-time low, but in the current modern cycle of Mike Trout cards, it would be a all-time low buy with the 30K gold. So for me, it's that psychological thing where it really messes you up. But like I said, sometimes you have to overpay, right? And today's prices are undervalued. So I think that's the play on the Mookie. That's it. Because the Mike Trout is definitely there. You can't go wrong with both cards, but yeah, that's my take.
Yeah. Another reason why, and I'll close with this, another reason why I want to put these two up for the pick one. Both of them didn't, I believe both of them didn't make the Team USA roster for the WBC, which is, wow. We're in a different era now. We are in a different era, and it doesn't seem right that Mike Trout's not on it, to tell you the truth. But I could understand with obviously with their current roster, which is amazing. I can understand why they would leave Trout out, but come on, over Byron Buxton at least. We talked about him last week. I'm just saying.
I think too, though, like you have to consider like who's ready at this time. It's like Mike Trout still, trying to get healthy for the MLB season in his career. I think the focal point for Trout should be that. Whereas, Buxton could help you win right now, potentially over Trout. So that's where I would see the argument. Like if I'm managing, I would make that decision based off that. Where if Trout was ready to go, 100%, you gotta put Trout out there. He's your captain, right? So that's why I just don't think he's ready.
I hope that's the case because, as a fan, you want to see Ohtani versus Trout repeat, right? You want to see kind of those matchups, Absolutely. That would just be amazing for baseball. But anyway, another great episode, longer one than usual. But yeah, I actually just bought a jumbo box of Top Series 1, so I'll be ripping that and I'll let you guys know, hopefully, any good hits that come out of that. But we'll have a brand new episode for you guys next week. Talk to you then. Bye. Hey, thanks for listening to Cards to the Moon. We'd really appreciate you subscribing to our podcast wherever you listen to your podcasts. And you can also connect with each of us on Instagram at 5cardguys, or you can follow Hyung at Integrity Sports Cards, or John at TradeU at Recess. You can also check us out at 5cardguys.com. Thanks again, and hope to connect soon.